We'll do a review of Likutei Sichos. Chelik Gimel. This is the Sicha for the Parshas Tzav. We're learning it Leilu Nishmas Rav Levi Yitzchak ben Chaim Tzvi Tehei Nishmos Yitzrura B'Yitzrei Chaim. In this Sicha, the Rebbe discusses the idea of burning the fats, the limbs and the fats of the korban, that it's kosher to do all night. The Rebbe will explain a machlokes between Rambam and Rashi, that according to the Rambam, the emurim, the chayla lovim ve'emur everei borim should also only be burned until midnight. Rashi says that chalovim ve'eborim you can do all night, but the Rambam says only till midnight. Even though the Torah allows it, the Rebbe explains, and we know that things that the Torah allow, the Fedish, the Chachamim don't make a gezerah. That's why Rashi says you can do it all night, because the Torah says ad haboker kol halayla, as we learn in the pasuk over here. But yet, as the Rebbe will explain, the main mitzvah is yom. Torah says that you can also bring it at nighttime, and the Rambam will hold that if it's the Torah is not a mitzvah to do it, but the Torah allows it, then the Chachamim could make a gezerah, as the Rebbe will explain in detail in the Sicha. But the Rebbe explains that what does it mean, the idea of burning the fat? And mainly you have to burn it in Avodas Hashem, you have to burn it during the daytime. Those are people who are living by the day, which means they're living by the Torah. They have a lot of insight. There is a danger that they might get caught up in themselves, so they have to burn or give the time away to Hashem. The Rebbe owes not so much when we talk about those people who are young. The Rebbe also talks about within the person himself. There is the level of yom and the level of laila, as we will see in this year. We'll go step by step. Aleph. So the pasuk says that this is the law for the korban oil, the korban, that kol halayla, you can bring it up, you can burn it all night on the mizbeach. Zogt Rashi, so Rashi zogt bo l'lamed alekter chalovim ve'eborim sheyehei kosher kol halayla. This pasuk comes to teach us that the burning of the chaylev, the fat and the limbs, those are the parts that have to go on to the mizbeach, that is kosher kol halayla. You can do it kosher all night long, as the pasuk says, kol halayla. As the ganze Nacht is kosher to maktiv sein, and the entire night is kosher to burn. The karbonis, the fat and the limbs of the karbonis. Which means, man darf sich bestadelt sein zu maktir sein als batog. You need to put effort to burn everything during the daytime. Das is der Bescheite from them. That's the time. That's if you want to do the mitzvah in time. Man kann aber maktir sein de chalovim ve'avorim b'nacht. However, you could bring and burn the fat and the limbs also at nighttime. If during the daytime you have completed the previous services, the sprinkling of the blood, the things that are necessary, they permit the korban. The actual burning of the korban can be done at nighttime. So is the din midiraisa. That is the Torah perspective, the law from the Torah. Says Zainen Faran Kama mitzvahs, but there are many mitzvahs. Was mina Torah megen ze getov them na ganze Nacht. That from the Torah you can do them all night. Achi alamot hashacha. That would mean until the morning star rises, which means till the morning. You can do it all night. Aber bichdei la'archikas odem min ha'aveda. But in order, as the Mishnah says in the first Mishnah in Brachos, in order to keep a person far away from Aveda, the Chachamim Geiser given the Chachamim decreed, as mezeloston nor bis halbenacht, you only do it until midnight. So those we find, like in the Mishnah over there, that we do it all to midnight. But what is the din by hektar chalovim ve'evorim? By the burning of the chaylev and the evorim? Is there a decree of the Rabbanan to limit it till midnight, or you can do it all night? Svarana machlokes for Rashi mit Rambam. There's a disagreement, an argument between Rashi and the Rambam. See, Odig Zeres Chacham is given Oich Badem. Whether that decree of the Chachamim, where they said you can only do to midnight, applied also to Hektar Chalavim Ve'evorim, that you can only do it until midnight. Did they say it, or here you can do it all night? The Rambam's view is as Oich Do Hot Megeizer given, that he too, there was a decree. The rabbi said you can only do it till midnight, although the Torah allows it all night. The rabbi says till midnight. Be by the other mitzvahs, as by the other mitzvahs that you can do them at nighttime. He says you can do it. The Chachamim limited it to midnight. This mitzvah, the Chachamim limited to midnight as well. That the other mitzvah you can do till morning, till the morning rises, and then the Chachamim said midnight. That would apply by Hektar Chalovim Ve'evorim as well. That's the Rambam. Or Rashi hal. But Rashi disagrees. Rashi's view is, as by Hektar Chalovim Ve'evorim, the Chachamim need geyser given. That when it comes to the burning the fat and the limbs, the Chacham did not decree that this should be done only to midnight. Einer for the timing was McKenzie. So, one of the reasons, why does Rashi say that this is different than all other mitzvahs that you do at nighttime with the rabbis decreed only till midnight? So, one of the reasons is, was L'shitas Rashi, according to Rashi's view, L'shitas Rashi is Faran Achiluk. There is a difference between Hektar Chalovim Ve'evorim on andere mitzvahs, between the Hektar Chalovim Ve'evorim. Why over there we don't say this Gezeira of the Chachamim only to Chatzos, which they say with regards to all other mitzvahs. And the reason is do'a klal and das kama poskim. There is a rule which is, according to many codifiers, as a zach versteht mefeirish in der Torah, something which is explicit in the Torah, as he is mutter, that it is permitted. Kennen the chachamim of them nit geiser sein kin isur. The chachamim cannot decree a prohibition on that. Wie bald as das was Hektar Chalovim Ve'evorim is kosher kol halayla. Since the fact that why is Hektar Chalovim Ve'evorim, the burning of the Chaylev Devorim, is kosher all night, stayed befedish in the Torah. So it's Torah Soila kol halayla, as we started the Sichos, the pasuk. This is the law of the Oila that it's called halayla. So canon the Chacham of them nit goyes sein kin isur. They cannot decree usur, which the Torah says it's mutter. Umibal that those was Hektar v'Chalovim Ve'evorim is kosher kol halayla, stayed befedish in their Torah kol halayla ad haboker. And another pasuk says lo yolin chaylev chagei ad boker, that the fat of my korban, the chag, should not be left leaning over till the morning. So the Torah befedish says you can do it all night. That's why, by this case of Hektar Chalovim Ve'evorim, the Chachamim did not decree only to midnight. But the question is, how come the Rambam, which there's indication, the Rambam goes along with this idea that wherever the Torah permitted it, then we should not really, the Chachamim don't have a right to come and answer it. The question is aber nicht verstandig the Shitta von the Rambam. It's not understood the view of the Rambam. As men hot geyser given, that you did decree. Warum l'das kam achreinim? The view of many achreinim, seine Faran Rayis, there is evidence. As if the Rambam held from them, also the Rambam holds from this rule that the Chachamim won't make a decree where the Torah permitted it. As dort steht befedish in the Torah leheter, the Torah clearly says that it's permissible Kennen the Chachamim nicht gehen, the Chachamim cannot decree. Is Farvos Haldo the Rambam. So why does the Rambam hold over here as with the Rabbonon darf man makter sein at Chatzois, that the Rabbonon said you can only makter Chatzois. In Balder steht befehlish in the Torah, is called Lailo. It says clearly in the Torah that it's all night. So how could the Rambam say only at Chatzois like this? So Rebbe explains the Rashi view that we can't make a Gzeid over here. So the question is, why does the Rambam say that the Gzeid does apply, that the Hekta Chalom Mevorm is only to midnight? And the Rebbe is going to bring down now that there is a comparison between the consumption of the Mizbeach and the eating of the Kohen. The Kohen eats, consumes, and the Mizbeach consumes. And there is a comparison. Just like by the Kohen, the mitzvah is to eat it at the day, but if he didn't finish, he can eat it all night. The same thing is with the korban. The mitzvah is to bring it on the mizbeach by day, and if he didn't bring it by the day, you can bring it at nighttime. But by the person, when we say that you can bring it at night, you can eat it at nighttime, it's not that you're mekayim the mitzvah when you eat it at nighttime. The mitzvah to make a bracha, you have to eat it in the daytime. But there's another issue. We don't want it to be left over. It shouldn't become nicer. So in order to not to become nicer, you eat it at nighttime also. So technically what it means is the mitzvah to be mekayim of eating the korban is to eat it at daytime. But in order not to violate the prohibition of nicer, that's why you do it also in the daytime eating. The Rebbe says the same thing is with korbanos. Chatchila, you have to burn the korban on the daytime. In order for it not to become nicer, the Torah allows you to burn it on the nighttime as well. So it turns out when the Torah gave you the time all night, it wasn't the Torah says eat all night. Eating has to be done in the daytime. I mean, the korban is the haktorah, korban has to be in the daytime. The Torah only allows it so it doesn't become nicer. In that case, we don't apply the law that the Chachamim don't make that gezerah, because the Torah didn't say you have to eat it at nighttime. It's not part of the mitzvah. It's just a new idea not to bring it to leftover. Over there, the Chachamim could make the gezerah. That answers the Rambam, why the Rambam says that over there we do have also the gezerah that you can only eat it to midnight. Let's look inside base. If when it's eaten, it says a double language, eaten, it will be eaten. Zog the Gemara, so the Gemara states that Bishtei Achila is a kosov medaber. The pasuk is talking about two eatings. Achas achilas odom. One is the eating of man, which is the Kohanim. Was the Kohanim essence zeir chelik from the korban, which the Kohanim eat their part of their korban, and va'achas achilas mizbeach, and one is that the mizbeach eats. The haktoreh eifu mizbeach, the offering, the burning on the mizbeach. So there is an equation between the person, the Kohanim eating it, and the mizbeach eating it. When the Gemara learned davon ab vergleicht eine Chile zu der zweite. The Gemara learns from this and equates one eating to the other, the eating of the Kohanim with the eating of the Mizbeach. So now we're going to see how it applies to the eating of the Kohanim, and then we will apply it to the eating of Mizbeach, which will explain the Rambam, why the Rambam holds that we don't apply here the law and of when the Torah says the Chachamim don't change it. Kahanim is faran the mitzvah. Also, when the Kahanim, there is a mitzvah as they should eat their portion on the day of the korban. In selben tog or nit immer morgen, on that same day, and not to leave it over for the next day. Zanin then faran zwei inyonim. So there is two aspects to the eating of the korban of the day. Aleph the mitzvahs asay for achilas hazebach. the positive mitzvah of eating the korban. If other mitzvah, just like any mitzvah, eating it, hotman if der achilas hazavach mesakim given abracha. So also for eating the korban, there was instituted, the rabbi instituted, make a bracha. You make a bracha for eating, for being mekayim the mitzvah of the offering that you're eating. So that's the mitzvah and the bracha that would apply during the daytime. But Beized Essen in selben Tag, but the fact that they will eat it in that day, this protects us, only that you should not violate the prohibition of leaving over. Not to leave over to the next day. So that brings it to nicer. So we don't want it to be left over. So you have to eat it. The chilik zwischen the zwei in yonim. So the difference between the mitzvah and also to protect not to leave over. The mitzvah funachilas hazavach, the mitzvah of eating the zavach fodder kamatanoim. It requires several conditions. Lamoshchol ligedula. The pasuk says this should be to you in a way of lamoshchol for greatness. Einei chai. Cannot be raw because that would not be eating the korban in a proper way. If you are lacking one of the condition, is manit bekayim the mitzvah, then you don't fulfill the mitzvah. But if we are just trying to protect so it doesn't become left over, it doesn't matter how you're eating it. It's not to fulfill the mitzvah. It's just so that you don't even noise it. The main thing is that through this eating, you want to secure that it should not be left over from the korban. So these are the two aspects in the eating of the kohen. So so now we're equating it also to mizmeh, just like these two aspects exist with regards to the eating of the kohanim. So we can say they also exist by the mizbeach eating it, the consumption of the mizbeach. Durch them was man is maktir the chalovim ve'vorim. When you offer, you burn the chalavim and the evarim on the mizbeach. In selben Tag von Akrov, on the same day that you offered it, that you brought the korban, tun sich auf zwei Sachen, you accomplish two things. Aleph, the avoida von maktir sein, the chalavim ve'evarim auf the mizbeach, the service of burning the chalavim ve'evarim on the mizbeach. That inyan chiyuvi von achilas mizbeach, that is the positive, the act of the mizbeach eating, consuming the chalav mevorim. Base, and number two, them through this you protect. As only as I can nice it, there shouldn't be leftover. As only to over sein, if der loisasa, you should not violate the prohibition that the fat of my offering, of my celebration, should not be left till the morning. So when you eat it, you're making sure that it shouldn't be left over. Yes, loimar. And das ist echt der Tam, was lechatchila darf man maktir sein, die chalovim ve'vorim b'yem davke, und nicht b'layla. That's also the reason that the burning of the chalavim and the vorim needs to take place davke in the day, or nicht b'layla, not nighttime. Chochas b'derech klal gefindt man nicht kein chilik mit der Reis von der Chatchila b'diyem. Generally, we don't find in the Torah that the beginning one way, and if after the fact, other ways. Over here, it almost seems like the beginning you have to eat it at the daytime. If you didn't eat it in the daytime, you can eat it in the nighttime. That's not usual in the Torah, because if you hear, it's two separate parts. There's two separate parts. The service of the offering, the positive aspect of bringing the ketoras to offer the fat and the emurim and the evorim, the limbs, just like all other services of the Mishkan, this needs to be B'Yom. So the mitzvah of burning on the Mizbech is B'Yom Davke. Those was the Torah zogt as meket maktir sein euch kol halaylo. The Torah says you can also kol halayla adabeker. That all night until the morning. What does the Torah give you that? Is a smer nit wie benegedem zweiten prat. This is only an allowance as it relates to the second detail. Zu verhitten von dem Lav von Neuser, to protect from the prohibition of Neuser. The river. So, the carbon that a person eats, he can only eat it, those that are eaten they can be eaten with one in the middle. The carbon we're talking about over here is not eaten at all to the but by the carbon we're saying is nit against the brat to the heat for the love. It's only to protect and make sure that it's not going to be nice. But not the mitzvah needs to be done on the daytime like everything else. So the you have the other the carbon that is eaten for one day, that's eaten for the day and the night. But here we're talking about the decree of the rabbis or the eating it till the morning is not to fulfill is the mitzvah of burning the carbon. That you have to do in the daytime. Is as menit v'benegei dem zweit prat. This only applies for the second detail, zu verhitten von dem Lav von Neuser, so that you don't violate the prohibition of Neuser. The river. Darf man lechatchila tom the avodah from maktir sein b'yoyim. You have to do it to begin with in the daytime, because that's the mitzvah, only in the daytime. But if you didn't do b'yoyim, so you didn't do the mitzvah properly, is there's man von avodas ha'aktorah, and the time of the service ha'aktorah from the inyan ha'chiyuvi wasn't there, so the time allotted for the service of burning it, the positive aspect of it, had already passed. Then you need to offer it during the nighttime. They need to over sein dem Lab from Neuser, so that we do not violate the prohibition of Neuser. Oh, so it turns out that the mitzvah you've done in the daytime. Once the daytime, what you didn't burn in the daytime, you lost the mitzvah. Now there's a separate aspect of it that the Torah says, in order not to become too nicer, you can still burn it on the Mizbeach on the next, till the morning. So in this case, the Mitkemen Veränderung the month of day from Rambam, according to this, we can answer the above mentioned opinion of the Rambam. That look them Rambam, according to the Rambam, the Rebbe quoted the Taz before on the Rambam, so the Rebbe says, but the Rebbe is explaining it, is there klal von dem koyach b'yad chachomim, lesser dover shepirish ha'toyim beferish letter, that the rule that you say the chachomim don't have the power to prohibit something which the Torah has allowed. That means when there's a mitzvah, nor v'aseretzav b'negei mitzvah. What the mitzvah is, the Torah said you can do it at nighttime. But dort wo the Torah hat gesagt beferish and soll the mitzvah ton, you should do the mitzvah. Kennen die Chachamim das nicht eiker sein, as man soll es nicht tun. The Chachamim can uproot it and say, no, don't do it. But in our case, the Torah didn't say do it at nighttime. The Torah says, don't let it come to noiser, and you will protect it by doing it at nighttime. Mashenkin, But the Torah nicht mehr wie matir given. The Torah only permitted it. As men meges tam b'meshach kol halaylo, that you're allowed to do it all night. Aber ke mitzvah say is there by mitov, but there is no positive mitzvah that you have to do it. There's no mitzvah to do it at the nighttime. Do is shaykh ha'gzedes chachomim. The Rambam learns that here Gzera Chachamim applies ad mizalaston nor ad chatzois, that you should do this only till midnight. Basically, as the Rebbe explains the Rambam, because the mitzvah is really of the korban to be burnt in the daytime, when the pasuk here says kol halaylo, that's only to protect that it doesn't become noisar. In such a case, the Chachamim can make a gezerah only till midnight because they're not going against the Torah. Because the Torah didn't say to eat it. The Torah just allowed you to eat it. And therefore, they say, no, don't eat it anymore. That doesn't mean going against the Torah. Leharchik es ha'adam min ha'aveda, the Chachamim said, do it only till midnight and not anymore. And the Rashi holds that he will explain in different ways, but according to Rashi, the mitzvah here, the Rabbanan didn't geyser anything, and also with the Rabbanan you can bring the Kalam Ve'Vodim, you can bring it on. And this is the halachic point of it. The Rebbe now is going away to explain the deeper meaning and the inner meaning of things. What does it mean burning the Kalam Ve'Vodim, and what does it mean to burning the daytime, and what does it mean to burn it at the nighttime? The Rebbe explains that whatever goes over, whatever happens to the behavior, actually, a person should imagine that it happens to himself. And the Rebbe says it's important to burn the fat, and we have to remember, even if you're a day Jew, if you're in the daytime, a person is a night person over there. It's not. It is almost obvious. Let's look inside. Gimel. Since Yodua, it's known, was the Ramban. So the Ramban says, "Ados was according from a behemoth, a chafet, how is a korban that comes from an animal? How does it atone for a sin of a man, of a human, of a person?" He says, "While the Odom Amakriv had the Baigid Aftracht, because the person he brings has to have something in mind when he brings the korban. That's how it atones for him. Iber Leben, he needs to experience it. He needs to go through emotionally, feel as Albus Matut with the Behema, that whatever is done to this animal, it should have really been done to him. Nor Bechazde Hashem, it's the grace, kindness of Hashem. But the Eber said those forbidden, God exchanged it if they're Behema on the animal. For them is verstanding. For this we understand, since it's something that you have to feel is happening to you, so we understand from this as alle Einzelheiten von a korban, that all the details of a korban are eingerechnet the avoide von makti sein chalom b'avorim, including the service of burning the fats in the avorim, and the faram b'avoide sa'odom, they exist in the service of the man, of man. Chelev says the Rambam, says Rashi, that the Rebbe beweist of time. Fat represents pleasure, delight, that makes the fat of the person. The Gemara talks about it, that the person, when he heard good news, never quotes the Gemara in Gittin, he physically became larger. So the fat of the person represents the person's pleasure. Is if them the so we have the lesson. Kol chelav la'avaya, if there is fat, it must be given to Hashem. Zayin tainugun gishmat, the person's delight and the taste that he has, he needs a Yid must give it over to Hashem. So kem and dochmeinen, so one could think, gishmak, give away to Hashem. That's things that are non-essential, but optional matters. A gishmak that you have in Torah or mitzvahs, why give it away to Hashem? You should enjoy it. And those was es spottet sich as Aid soll abgeben sein ganzen Teil zum Ebersten. That there is a requirement that a person is called Chaylev, all of his delight given to Hashem is as Davkin in Divrei Rishus. This is only in optional matters. As ein eigener Tugend soll sein in an Eufen that your own personal needs should be kilu kofi chulu, as if you were forced by a demon, kilu kofi shed. You're doing it, you're forced to do it. You don't really want to do it. You don't have a pleasure in it. Erzol in the Zenit Geschmack, you shouldn't have a feeling, a taste in it. Aber in Yonah Kedusha, when we come to holy matters, in Kima mitzvahs, in fulfilling mitzvahs, it was art as a hota Geschmack in Kedusha. Who cares? Why does it make a difference that he enjoys Kedusha? V'adra. On contrary, he should be enjoying Kedusha. Why should he give away that enjoyment to Hashem? Why shouldn't he enjoy the mitzvah? Is of them the herof naktoros chalovim by korbanos. So here we have the lesson. Korbanos is a mitzvah, and yet you have to burn the fat. Because the din is, the halacha is, as hagam, the achila from korbanos is a mitzvah canal, even though eating the korbanos is a mitzvah mentioned before, you make a bracha. Von deswegen tormen nicht essen, bis man nicht bewohnt. But you're not allowed to eat until you secured. First, you burn the fat of the mizbeach. What does it mean in the service of man when in Avodah? When is man sicher as is mekayim the mitzvah? When can you be sure that you're doing the mitzvah? You got to burn the fat first. Wie es darf zu sein. You can do the mitzvah, but the mitzvah properly. When you give away your taste, right from the mitzvah to neighbors, when you give over the taste of the mitzvah, you give it over to Hashem. But if in this mitzvah you had not yet burnt the fat of it, then Geschmack, the taste of it, can sein as it took the mitzvah, then it's possible you're doing the mitzvah. Not mitzad them was the Shulchan Aruch is, not because the Shulchan Aruch instructs you, tells you to do it, not mitzad them Geschmack. Was hot in them. Maybe he's doing it because of the taste, the enjoyment that it's his, that he feels in it. So, how do we balance? How do we say you should not have? Emes Take, it is actually true. As a dafton a mitzvah mitachayis and akoch, you have to do mitzvahs with an energy, vitality, and passion. A dafton the mitzvah nit mitzvah the hechel, you should do mitzvah not because you're forced to, not mitzvah avos Hashem. You love Hashem. Darplos the river zayin with the rest of the time. It needs to be with the greatest delight. That's doing the mitzvah Hashem. Therefore, that he had the privilege lemalois rotzin boire to fulfill the wishes of the Creator. Darf sich aber bewarnen, but he needs to caution us that Geschmack soll sein und dem muss der feel dem rotzin boire, that the taste should be because he is fulfilling the wishes of the Creator. But needs to live seine kinyonim, not because side matters. So to burn away the taste is talking about burn away the enjoyment of other side reasons. The reason because you're enjoying that you're able to fulfill Hashem's will. Adrab, that's appropriate, that you need to. But make sure to burn away any personal, any selfish interest that you might have, that you enjoy doing it, so that you make sure the mitzvah is pure, that you're doing it because it's Hashem's will. Is by Togdaf. So now we understand why the mainly of burning the fat is in the daytime. Now, said before, those was can the fact that you can also burn the fat at nighttime is as not bichdei zu mashlim sein, man hat es nicht getan by Tog. It's only to complete if you hadn't done it in the daytime. But that's not the main time. Yoim weist auf Gilui Ohr. Why does it mean to do in the daytime? Yoim shows there's light. It's a revelation of light. In avodas ha'odam is as what does it represent in the service of man? The tzai during the time was the Sichos in Torah mitzvahs when he occupies himself in Torah mitzvahs. That's the time when it's light by him. Their mitzvah the Torah oir. The lamp is the mitzvah. The Torah is the light. That represents daytime. Is when you learn Torah mitzvahs. And Laila is choshech, Laila is darkness. This is the Zeit. That represents the time when there is nit farnumim mit Torah mitzvahs. That's not when he's occupying Torah mitzvahs, nor is the chesek in divrei rishus, but he busies himself with optional matters. Lernt dazu, this teaches us, as the bavornesh from hektar chalovim, that when is the main caution that we have to burn the fat. Darv Zayin Be'ikir needs to be mainly by Yom Davke, in the daytime Davke. In Divrei Rishus, when it comes to optional matters, it's the Chadavar Pashut. Over there, it's obvious, it's simple. As man darf in dem mitomen kein Geschmack, that you shouldn't really have a taste in it. Man darf es don nor l'shem shemayim, you should do it only for the sake of heaven. Aber by Yon for Torah Mitzvah, but when we talk about aspects of the matter of Torah Mitzvahs, can sich doch einreden. The person can persuade himself. As about the tut in Kedusha, since he's in Kedusha, he's doing Kedusha, he's bringing a carbon. His viz is only Zayin is good. Whichever way it is good. Abiyah learn Torah Mekayim mitzvahs. As long as he's learning Torah, observing mitzvahs, as we say, L'oilim Yasik Adam, the Torah mitzvahs chulu shalei lishma. Let him even learn, occupy himself in Torah, even though it's not for his sake. So why is it so important? And so here we need to caution. As a loich do makti zayin the chalov, that here too you need to burn the fat. Mishas that is machadish, achidish in Torah. When you come up with a novel idea in Torah, unhot in dem agresen tainug, and you have a tremendous delight in your novel idea that you came up with. Dafür poilem basich, he needs to impact himself. Give it away to neighbors, don't keep it as your own satisfaction. Verret, of course, it goes without saying, that his novel idea does not fit with the words of the earlier ones, the later ones, was an ungenum of Petrutzus Yisrael who have been accepted in the communities, the Jewish communities. They are reliable. If what you are coming up does not fit with them, for sure, just get rid of it, burn it. Go ahead and give away and burn your own flesh, your own. Your intent should be to come up with the right kavanah, the locha, as it is truthful. Don't try to just come up with ideas to show off how great your power and your intellect is. No, that's for sure you got to do. This is similar to what Rabbi Yenu says, that sometimes you got to be more careful when you're talking about learning. You're talking about the mitzvah when you're not sure that got to be extra cautious. When you're not sure, meaning you're dealing with Kedusha, in this case, you're learning Torah, and you might think that this is important to enjoy, but make sure that in this case, you don't stray away. Rabbi Yenu says, he explains, that the price for a questionable sin, it's called Hashem totally hinges, so it costed more than a real sin. So he said, woman is mer because where person is no likely, person won't to make a mistake, you need a greater caution. Because you think, oh, I didn't really see, and I didn't have to do tshuva. It's going to cost you, therefore, more. It says when learning Torah, by Yom, over there's a stronger suspicion that you might actually enjoy it and make yourself comfortable with that Kiddush Torah, even though it doesn't fit, but you have to burn that. That's one idea. And that's why it's mostly the mitzvahs by Yom. And the Rebbe gives another idea now between Yom and Night. Hey, der Hefresh von Yom und Laila kann man nicht mehr weiter sein auf einer anderen Tiefe. The distinction, the difference between Yom and Laila, we can also explain in a different and a deeper way. Was leid dem wird man nicht verstehen, also according to this, we'll understand was the Aktorah b'Yom is a mitzvah chiyuvis. This other part that the bringing it, burning it in the daytime is a positive mitzvah. And the Aktorah b'Laila is subavona mitzvah for noiser, and the reason we burn at nighttime is to protect us from the prohibition of noiser. The explanation the Rebbe gave before is just explains why you got to burn the fats. But this new explanation is going to explain both aspects, why we burn it in the daytime and why the not left over is important by the nighttime, as we explain what day and nighttime mean. So Rebbe explains, Yom und Laila batzeichenen, nicht bloß die Sachen, in welcher der Mensch sich äußert. They, Yom und Laila describe not just the items in which the person occupies himself, which in Yonei Torah mitzvah or the Divrei Reshus, that whether it's Torah mitzvahs, which we call Yom, then mitzvah Torah, or Divrei Reshus, which is called Laila. It's more than that. Nor oich the chilukim in the matzah from the mention alain. They represent differences in the human condition, the condition of the person. Yom weist if the matzav ha'adam ben ba'im is made giloy benafshe. Yom points to the situation of the person when he feels and his soul shines light. The light is shines by him. Nit nor der Herr teras teiro mitzvah seinen chokmos u'ritzoy neshel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not only does he sense that the Torah mitzvahs are the wisdom and the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, nor afile in divrei harishus, but even in the actual matters, der herter dem elikus was in the dvarim hagashmim. He senses, he realizes the godliness which is in the physical matter. This, as with the divrei harishus alein, to the extent he senses so much that he uses the optional matters, dinter them overstand. He serves Hashem with them. And always, you take mundane, regular things and you serve Hashem with them. That means he has light. You sense everything godliness. These al derech achilas tzadikim, to the extent similar to the eating of tzadikim, was his nitkin avodah from berurim. It is not the avodah. Normally, food is called avodah sabirurim, to sort out, take out the spark. But tzaddik the tzaddik eats not to sort out, but satisfy his soul, meaning a level of serving Hashem with eating. That is the represented by Yom. Yom is when there is light that shines in Torah and as well as in optional matters that you use. Laila weist, what is nighttime? That points that by mentioning the Meir can give you that by the person there's no shining of light. That is the Margishken alakus benafshi. He doesn't feel godliness in the soul. The Meir is need nor so not only that he constantly needs to wage war, but that is the Chesek and Divrei Reshus, that when you are occupied in optional matters, as his own and the Shem Shemaim, to make sure we're there for the sake of the heaven, not to fulfill his desire of his soul, then that is the basic with Torah mitzvahs. But even when he learns Torah mitzvahs, when there is no light, when there is darkness, it means since Torah is dressed up in human intellect, the mitzvahs before gash mitzvahs and physical matters, and in the power of his animal soul. So he needs to put a lot of effort in. As a limud Shmo, he's always struggling that it should be small. There's no light. Not only when he does optional things, but even learning that he should learn properly the Shmo. Who needs to leave them seichel wasn't that? Not to learn just because he enjoyed the intellect, but learn for the sake of Hashem. Well, that was Ekim HaMitzvahs, and the thing is Ekim HaMitzvahs. That he's doing the mitzvahs, the Shem Shemayim. Is invaded dargis, sign Yom and sign Laila. So both of these levels, when things are light and inspired, and you see godliness, and also when it's Laila, you don't see godliness. There is the idea of you need to burn the fat. The siddhas hataynu that you have to give over your delight to Hashem. So but there's a difference. Those who are by the level of day, so then their entire taste, what they get, need flows in Torah and mitzvah, not just about Torah mitzvah, and the shoes mitzvah and kedusha. Everything is mitzvah and kedusha. The whole that's entire. Their entire taste, entire chaylev that they give away is mitzvah and kedusha. The whole day. It's only godliness. Masha'en kein divos halten by Lailo, as opposed to those who are by night. Is to them verstel for nefesh hamahamis because of the obscurity of the animal soul. Kennen sie bei sich mit peilu be'emes lamite. They cannot impact themselves really truthfully as their ganze tainig soll sein a tainig eliki, that entire delight should be only godly. They can't make it all of their tainig. Whereas their Aveda is to brechen sich, but their Aveda is to break themselves as his own sich nit reinlosen in taivas und moistris, that they should not lower themselves and place themselves into taivas, into desires and extras. Und as in jeder Sach, they have to wait for so sein kavanosam, that in every item, their intention, we need the Zach, not the item of the Shem Shemayim. The Shem Shemayim, they got to struggle to want the thing for Hashem and not for the timers and extras, not to get themselves involved. Is there Teuchem from Zeir, Hector, Falbavim, Bavim, Ainyan from Shlila? So what is their offering of their fat? It's an idea of negating, preventing, zurückhalten sich from Teinigen Varim Amotorim, to hold back from the delight in permissible items. Because the Yetzer Hara from something which is permissible will bring you to convince you, persuade you to Isugat from it. Also with regards to the story of Torah, we bowed as by der Madrege from Lebanon, since they are not at the level from really learning Torah for its sake. Truthfully, they're not at that level. They need to protect themselves, not to put their human intellect in Torah. You have to look at the real intention. You cannot put your human intellect into Torah. About Seichel and Nushi can farfiren bis to Megala Pon Baterish Leik Halacha. The human intellect can sort of lead you away to the extent that it could even lead you to revealing faces in Torah, learning Torah against Halacha, not according to Halacha. So it's mainly to avoid negative. Well, that is saying Kiyama Mitzvah is also similar in Kiyama Mitzvah. So the two parts, when you are still struggling and fighting, its main thing is it should be nice, or it should be misleading you. The avodah of Akbayim is to create that full level kind of lishma, and to make everything you do sensing godliness. But if you're in a level of Lila, you can't do that. You have to struggle. So the main thing is not to allow this to push you down and pull you down. So the main thing is to prevent negativity. That's why the Yom, the main mitzvah is the mitzvah to eat to accomplish the positive and the burning of the carbon. Sorry, the burning. The nighttime is that it shouldn't be left over. Well, seems like there's an advantage then to the Yom because the Lila is only preventing negative. But yet the Rebbe says now there's actually a Maila in the Lila. Alpha became both. Is Faran a Maila the Rabbi from Iskafi. There is an advantage, the service of subduing, pushing yourself. Rechem them around to break the evil. If the Rabbi from Tzadikim more than the service of Al derech with the Avodah from the Neshama Lamata, similar to the service, the Neshama below. So we zijn them good nefesh abahamis to sort out the body down the soul. Is hecher from the Avodah and Neshama is the Mailam Kodu. That's a higher level than the service of the neshama as it was above. Before it descended, it didn't have to fight with the nefesh habahamis, with the body and the nefesh habahamis. And yet, it's a greater avodah in this world when it has to battle. Although above it had higher grasping, it understood more. Zois neshamas lamatim. Same thing as the neshamas below itself. Is there a mile in the avodah from tikkun abum and nefesh habahamis? There is an advantage. There is a mile in the service of fixing the body nefesh habahamis. Skaflev. Avodas habeinim oiv avodas hatzadikim. The service of the beinim, those who have to struggle over the avodas hatzadikim. And this is merumas b'kosuv. This is hinted in the pasuk. V'lo yolim chelev kagiat boikem. V'lo, as the avodah from v'lo yolim, not to let the elef not to let shalayla shlila. Negating shlilas ha'isuri loyolim, not to allow the prohibition. Alidei avodas ha'pivinin the iskafia, through the sorting out in the iskafia, through the struggle. But to bringen, this is going to read you the loyolim chelev ad baker till you come to baker. So the baker oir, to the morning, to the light, to the mizman, to the time from the yilacha. No longer will the sun be the light of the day. Hashem will be you for life forever. Okay, dua, as known as the bitter from guf and nefesh habahamis, and from Elam Hazeh, that this sorting out of the body and the animal soul in this world does that bring in the boiker. That brings to that boiker the boiker oired from the Geula, the Gilui from the Geula Hasida, the revelation of the future redemption of the Mashiach Tzidkenu, the righteous Mashiach, B'mheira, B'yameinu Amen. And this is Sichos Yutes Kislev Tavshin Yud Aleph.